So I'm still on the Spray Lake Pass. Just pulled down a few miles further. There's actually so much snow on the roads, and the roads are so heavily potholed that I don't think I'm going to be able to continue any further. A little bit of wind. I hope that's not getting picked up too badly. As you can see, I got my bear spray. Oh, getting old. Bending over isn't as easy as it used to be. I wanted to read to you an experience that was sent to me. This one is kind of personal to me, and it's so powerful. Basically, this experience that I'm going to read to you about is the real reason why I began this channel. After reading about the increased number of suicides in young people because of COVID, and the reason why I believe it's so important that we share our faith to give those hope who don't see a light at the end of their tunnel, maybe who are too overwhelmed with fear and feel like they have nowhere to turn or no one to turn to. Anyhow, so we find it here. There it is. Okay, let's get started. The bullet went in right here, David Parnell says, pointing at the base of his chin, and came out between my eyes, breaking every bone in my face, blowing my nose off and all of my front teeth out. David never expected to live after he shot himself with his rifle. Drugs had destroyed his marriage and his life. I just thought, man, that's it. I'm going to blow my head off. This dope has robbed me of everything. David grew up with his mother and grandparents in Tennessee. One summer, while visiting his father in Mississippi, he learned a lesson he would never forget. He was just 13. My dad was smoking marijuana pretty regularly, David said. He also played music in a honky-tonk bar. He taught me how to smoke it, educated me on how to hold the smoke in my lungs for it to be most effective, and to make me high. And that was really a huge turning point in my life. As he grew older, David began using cocaine and speed. Then he discovered methamphetamines. The first time I tried it, I knew that was going to be my drug of choice, David said. After one failed marriage, he married Amy. As their family grew, she tried to get him to give up the drugs, but things just became worse. As his meth use increased, so did the side effects. First, there were the hallucinations. We normally start out seeing what we call shadow people. They're just shadows that you see moving around, or out of the corner of your eye, David said. Then there was the paranoia. As the addiction grows worse and worse, you become so paranoid, he said. You think you are seeing stuff. You think everybody is out to get you, and you hear noises and voices. I was even paranoid of my own wife, my children, and my mother. David once nearly shot his mail carrier, thinking he was an undercover policeman. Other times I would hear footsteps walking upstairs, and I was convinced that it was the other drug dealers, he said. I'd go through my house blowing holes in my ceiling, screaming and hollering and cussing that I was going to kill them. Then one day, the voice told him to take his life. The voice says, "You think Jesus could forgive you for the things you've done and all the people you've hurt?" And I said, "No, I don't think he will." The voice continued, "You know, your wife and kids would be much better off if you were dead." David grabbed a rope, went to the barn behind his house, and hung himself. But the weight of his body swinging caused the rope to break. His sister found him and revived him. The experience scared David straight for a few months, but it wasn't long before he was back to using meth. One evening, Amy told him that she'd had enough. David had come home high, and Amy told him that she was leaving and taking the kids with her. That was the evening David put his gun under his chin and fired. The wounds were so severe that he coded several times in the ambulance on the way to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. During that time, he caught a glimpse of hell. It sounded like a million people screaming in agony. I looked up and realized how dark it was. It frightened me so bad, I felt like I was going to explode with a bomb. David cried out to God, and when he did, he saw an image of Christ. I was looking at him, and I felt like a little kid, David said. I was just terrified and shaking, and all of a sudden he smiled, and all the fear left me. While at Vanderbilt, he drifted in and out of consciousness for several days. He would write things down on a tablet that we gave him, Amy said. He would write things like, "Jesus loves you all, and I'm so sorry. and I was bad, but now I'll be good, and I want to help other people. David spent several weeks in the hospital. During his recovery, he asked God to forgive him for the pain he caused to his loved ones, and invited Jesus into his heart. Since then, God has restored David and Amy's marriage. That was a life-changing moment. He has never been the same since, Amy said. I don't even know if you could describe what we had before as a marriage, but now it's a marriage. It's a family. It's two people working together to serve the Lord and raise a family to serve the Lord. David believed God spared him so he could warn others about the dangers of meth. Today he speaks to young people at schools and churches around the country. This drug brings out the evil in a person, he said. For a lot of kids, they think, well, hey, if this guy hadn't shot himself, he would still be on drugs. When the truth is, if I hadn't accepted Jesus into my heart, I would still be on drugs. It didn't matter about shooting myself. I could have shot myself, went home as soon as I felt better. I'd been right back to using. I know that. The only thing I did different this time, out of all the other times I tried to quit, was I accepted Jesus in my heart, and I asked him to help me. I didn't think there was forgiveness for me, and I realize today that there's always forgiveness. Well, thank you, David. What a wonderful story. Like I said, the biggest reason why I began this channel, I read an article, it was in California, and it said that more young people had committed suicide in the last 10 months than in the previous 30 years. And to be honest with you, that scared the hell out of me. And I felt so sorry for those people. They can't go to school, they can't see their friends, they can't go out and socialize as they normally were. And that's a lot of stress on these children, a lot of stress on everybody. And that's why I started this channel. But please, if you have an experience you'd like to share, that you'd like me to read on video, whether or not you include your name is totally up to yourself, just email it to therockymountainview@gmail.com. That's one long word, no capital letters. You'll find that description in the at the end of the video in the description there. But love to hear from you. Just a story about how your faith helped you overcome obstacles in your life, or perhaps how an answered prayer helped you overcome an obstacle in your life. Love to hear from you. Anyhow, that's going to be it. I can hear the wind picking up, and it's getting a little colder. And I'd like to thank you for being with me today, and may God continue to bless you and yours. Bye now.